was Beatlemania all over again. Fans were crying, screaming, fainting, undressing, and pulling each other's hair just to get closer to. For men on stage, the crowd consisted of hormonal college girls, soccer moms, grandmothers, men, and a pair of disabled women using their wheelchairs as weapons as they weaved through the masses. It was pure hysteria, and Chelsea Combs couldn't wait until the night was over. The young cocktail waitress made her way over to a corner table holding a tray of refreshments. High above her head, the noise level at the pit stop bordered on painful, and Chelsea adjusted her in-ear plugs as she passed by a table of 20-somethings. A girl in a scandalous pink tube top squealed over the music. "Oh my God, he looked at me. Devin Sawyer just looked at me. You saw that, right?" Her friend nodded with excitement. "He totally looked at you." "Scratch that, he totally checked you out." Both girls shared in a girl-bonding giggle fest, and Chelsea held her tongue as she walked by the scandalous twins. She slapped a fake smile on her face and passed out drinks to another table of college girls. They handed her a tip, and Chelsea flashed them an award-winning smile. Her smile turned into a sour scowl as soon as she turned on her heel and headed towards the kitchen. Chelsea hated her job. She hated the crowds. She hated the loud music. She hated everything from her 4-inch stiletto heels to the crook namatag pinned to her collared shirt. Hey, sweet cheeks. She hated even more that nobody bothered to read said namatag. Chelsea pushed through the maze of sweaty bodies and trudged over to a pot-bellied man standing against the wall. "What can I get for you, sir?" Her voice had barely penetrated Devin Sawyer's guitar solo. "A kiss," he slurred, then puckered his lips at her. Chelsea cringed and stormed away. That was nothing new. It was just another reason why she hated her job. When she reached the kitchen, Chelsea set down her empty tray and leaned against the counter with an embittered sigh. "It's nuts out there, huh?" Chelsea looked up at her friend and co-worker Lisa and forced a smile. "It's brutal. Can I go home yet?" "Fat chance. Freeze Frame is only on their 3rd song. And why would you want to? You're making banking tips and these guys are amazing." "Yeah, they're super. What is it with this band anyway?" Chelsea crinkled her nose. "We've never had anyone this famous play here before." Lisa pulled her scarlet curls back into a loose ponytail. "Jerry is friends with the band's manager. He did him a solid. Just fortunate we were put on the schedule tonight." "Ah, yes. I'm so privileged to be a part of this history in the making," Chelsea said with a theatrical air-all. She piled her tray high with beer and cheese fries. Lisa whisked her trays through the double doors with a laugh. "You'll see. You'll be telling your grandkids about this one day," Chelsea snorted. "Okay, so these guys had a fan base. Any decent-looking guy with a Facebook page had a fan base these days." She picked up her tray of orders and followed Lisa out the door. Before she could exit, Jerry made a beeline in her direction. What did she do wrong this time? Chelsea smoothed out her pencil skirt and checked to make sure her blouse was tucked in. "Get those kids some more water, will you?" Jerry ordered. Me?" Chelsea glanced at the stage, then back to her boss. She was certain the phrase "dear" in headlights did not begin to accurately convey the stunned look on her slender face. "The band? Yes, you. Yes, the band. Get them water." "Did I stutter?" Jerry snapped. Chelsea shook her head. "No, sir. Just making sure." She took a deep breath and turned back around towards the kitchen. She collected for water bottles from the refrigerator and tucked them under her arms. Lucky bitch. Chelsea looked over her shoulder to discover her other co-worker, Julia, sticking out her tongue. "It is what it is," Chelsea said with mock importance. "I'm just that cool. I would kill to get that close to those gorgeous boys," Julia sighed. "Every girl here would. Oh, please. It's just water. And you know I don't care." Julia yanked her ponytail tighter and glanced at her ticket order. "Duh, that's why Scary Jerry chose you. You're not some swoony fangirl who's going to faint at the sight of them." Chelsea chuckled at the thought. God, could you picture that? Me actually showing interest in a man. You know you have to jump back into the dating pool eventually. 'Cause not every guy out there is like Chelsea. Chelsea spun around to find Jerry glaring daggers at her. "Sorry, I'm coming," she called back. Then she turned to Julia and held up a water bottle in playful victory. Julia flipped her the bird in response. "I hope you fall on your ass up there," she said with a laugh. "Chelsea, Chelsea jolted into action. I'm coming. You're really starting to piss me off, Jerry said, shaking his head with disapproval. Chelsea rushed past him, her eyes facing straight ahead, and sauntered toward the staircase leading up to the stage. The security guards moved aside to let her pass, and Chelsea couldn't help but succumb to the faint feeling of self-importance as she trotted up the stairs. She clutched the water bottles tightly, her sweaty palms betraying her proclaimed indifference. She could feel the crowd's eyes on her as she neared the band. Chelsea knew every person in that room wanted to be her. Don't fall on your ass. Don't fall on your ass. What Chelsea didn't expect were the eyes of one incredibly good-looking lead singer to be boring holes into her as she approached. Her stomach fluttered in response. What was that all about? Chelsea held out a bottle of water to the shaggy-haired rock star and offered him a warm smile. Here you go, she said. She was trying to ooze confidence, but her trembling hand portrayed otherwise. He smiled back, and oh, did he smile back. Chelsea could almost feel her eyeballs turn into animated cartoon hearts, and was that a cupid flying over her head with an arrow pointing at one unsuspecting Devon Sawyer? Get a grip. Chelsea pried her eyes away from the lead singer and passed out the remaining water bottles. The drummer and bassist nodded their thanks. The guitarist snatched the water out of her hand with a sneer and refused to look at her. Chelsea frowned but said nothing. She turned to walk off the stage when a silky, strangely titillating voice made her stop in her clumsy tracks. Hey, thanks again, UH. Chelsea turned around, her heart beating comically out of her chest. Lead singer guy was staring at her, another melt-worthy smile on his face. My name's Chelsea, she said. She cursed herself for stuttering like a love-struck fool. Thanks, Chelsea, he replied with a flirtatious wink. She pushed her hair behind her ear and returned Devon's smile with not nearly as much charm and bewitchery, and then almost tripped on one of the steps leading off the stage. Chelsea could practically hear Julia laughing at her as she pulled herself together and continued her trek back down to the lounge. Sure enough, Julia was peering through the kitchen doors with a smirk on her face. You slut, Julia shouted as Chelsea approached. What? How am I a slut? You were totally I-fucking Devon up there. Look, you're even blushing. Chelsea felt her cheeks grow hotter than Death Valley in the middle of July. She raised her hands to her face to hide the evidence. I was not. He's not even my type. Julia laughed, her raven ponytail swaying back and forth as she shook her head with pinnacles. You just found your type, and apparently it's the most lusted after male in the country. Crap. Chelsea ducked her head with equal parts mortification and infatuation. He was attractive, maybe, but it takes a lot more for me to melt into a pile of girly goo and almost trip over your own defeat in front of hundreds of people. So, you did see that? Chelsea asked in dismay. She raised a hand to her neck as the heat from her cheeks traveled down to her chest. Every minute of your wanton flirting, Julia admitted. Okay, first of all, that was not flirting. That was we established this. Please stop incorrectly finishing my sentences. Chelsea's voice was laced with playful teasing. Julia sighed in resignation. Fine, whatever. You were completely unaffected by his charms. Chelsea lowered her eyes and let a smile slip. I never said unaffected. Well, maybe she was a little more than unaffected. Chelsea Combs was utterly and completely under the spell of Devon Sawyer. Lisa came barreling into the kitchen, tossing her empty tray onto the counter with a clatter. Chelsea, I hate you. She squealed. Oh, but I love you. Tell me everything. Chelsea giggled and began to speak when Jerry stormed through the doors. What the hell is this? He blared. All three girls flinched. There are customers out there, waiting. This is our busiest goddamn day, and you three are having a hormone-infused POWN. The kitchen. I should fire you all on the spot. The three friends shuffled to collect their orders. Sorry, sir, Chelsea muttered. Lisa and Julia squeaked out an apology and hurried out of the kitchen. Hey, Jerry blocked Chelsea's path before she could make her swift exit. I expect a little more professionalism in the future. He stormed away and pushed through the kitchen doors, muttering profanities under his breath. Chelsea could feel the sting of tears threatening her eyes. Jerry was never lacking in the insult department, but he had never once called her unprofessional. Chelsea prided herself on her responsible nature, and everyone around her knew it. They respected her for it. Taking a deep breath, Chelsea lifted her head and went back out there to do her job. 10 o'clock rolled around and Freeze Frame was on their final song. Chelsea had never worked so hard in her life. Her ankles were swollen and her ears were ringing with reverb from the bass guitar. Had spent the evening carrying heavy trays over her head and cleaning spilled drinks and barbecue drippings while simultaneously trying to dodge the lusty looks Devon Sawyer had been throwing in her direction. The first time their eyes had locked, Chelsea thought her knees would give out and her drink orders would topple onto table number 4. Why had this superstar set his sights on her when the room was filled with glamorous women? What made her so special? Once upon a time, Chelsea may have considered herself special. Unfortunately, Ian Masterson had successfully crushed her spirit and self-esteem a long time ago. Glancing at her watch, Chelsea passed out a round of martinis to a crowded table and handed them the bill. When she turned around, she almost collided with a beefy security guard. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir," she apologized. "Miss Chelsea." She crossed her arms over her chest with a quizzical frown. "Am I in trouble?" The guard let out a hearty laugh, his authoritative demeanor quickly dissolving. "Quite the contrary. Mr. Sawyer sent me over here to give you a private invitation to a VIP event tonight with the band." Chelsea's eyes widened. "Mr. Sawyer," as in her voice trailed off and she looked over at the stage. Devon's t-shirt was currently plastered to his sweaty torso, his well-defined abs undoubtedly taunting her. She gulped. "Yes, ma'am, that Mr. Sawyer. They will be at Marley's tonight after the show. He'd like you to be there." Chelsea was speechless. How was she supposed to respond? "We'll be there." Julia had snuck up behind her and wrapped her arm around Chelsea's shoulder. Chelsea groaned. "Julia, I don't want to go." Her friend ignored her and grinned brightly at the security guard. "Tell him we'll be there. Our shift is up at 11. Julia grabbed Chelsea by the hand and dragged her away before she could protest further. "Jules, that wasn't cool. I have zero interest in being a musician's one-night stand," Chelsea huffed, yanking her arm away. "You'll thank me for it one day," Julia said with a shrug. Julia was one of those fortunate females who could reel any guy in with her long obsidian hair, bedroom eyes, and ample cleavage. Chelsea was perfectly willing to pass off Devon Sawyer to her more experienced friend. Devon would only find disappointment and bloody battle wounds beneath the layers of Chelsea. Combs